So we're constantly looking for the proof, right? The proof of what hunting does, or the proof of management of wildlife and what the impacts of that management is. More often than not, though, we actually have to do the opposite. We have to do the reverse. We have to actually do management or hunt and then take it away and see the consequence of that action, sort of that inflection point. What happened before and what happens after. Unfortunately, there are people in our society that do not believe that hunting and trapping or any sort of wildlife management has a place in today's society. I would argue that hunting and trapping and wildlife management are imperative in today's society as compared to 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years ago, because of the human fingerprint on today's world and on today's habitats. Those same individuals will call for the reduction in human population. Get rid of humans. That's never going to happen. And more often than not, I will respond and say, well, why don't we start with you, as you are one of those humans that you say are doing a terrible job in terms of their effects on wildlife. So the most vicious and visceral individuals that are anti-hunting, anti-trapping can actually be found in the English United Kingdom landscape. Sometimes they're called saboteurs, but these guys just hate trapping specifically and any sort of hunting. Well, I just came across a study that looked at the effects of predator management in an initial experiment phase, and then they took predator trapping away and let predators do what they do on the landscape. There was no management any longer on predators. So what was the effect on ground nesting birds? So before I tell you the impact of the predator doing whatever they wanted to do, let me start with the initial phase of the experiment, when crows and red foxes were actively managed. When crows and foxes were actively managed, all ground nesting birds, I don't have to tell you all of them, tripled in their response. So all you have to know is that ground nesting birds were doing very, very well when predators were suppressed. Not exterminated, suppressed. So now let's see what the results were when suppression was removed. Foxes, do what you want. Crows, do what you want. Now I'm going to read the results because it's quite dramatic. When predator removal was not suppressed, foxes increased by 78%, crows increased by 127%, black grouse, locally extinct now, grey partridge, locally extinct, red grouse, 71% decline, golden plover, 81% decline, snipe, 76% decline, curlew, 24% decline, lapwing, 58% decline. Those are pretty strong proofs, scientific proofs. And oh, by the way, the habitat was consistent. And so there was no interference in the results due to habitat condition changing between the initial and post-predator suppression part of the experiment. It was the same. So what does this study say? The very first thing it says is that you need to manage wildlife to the benefit of all ecosystem elements, specifically predators, okay? What it also says, and this is my opinion, not what the paper says, it also shows that these wildlife advocates, these saboteurs, the ones that are anti-hunting, anti-trapping, anti-wildlife management, are actually not pro-wildlife conservation at all. They just don't want us to do the activity. Because clearly these results show that by doing the activity that we do, we are benefiting the ecosystem. We are benefiting ground nesting birds. We are causing a balance to occur in the system. But clearly, that's not what they're interested in. So they're not actually interested in wildlife conservation. Just interested in removing the activity that they hate to their core. So the next time somebody talks about how bad trapping is, or how bad predator suppression management is, use this study. It's a great proof.